What's up YouTube? I know I'm a little bit late to the show with my review of Wolverine V2 Chroma by Razer, and it looks like this month was all about Razer because I just finished my review of this beautiful laptop Razer Blade 15 Advanced with 3080 Ti on board, and now I have the controller. If you're curious about the laptop, feel free to check the link up here, and we continue with the controller. If this is the first time we meet, my name is Roman, and on this channel I take a slightly different approach to reviews. I look at things from perspective of price versus functionality, as I believe you don't always need top-of-the-line tech to complete your tasks. So let's save some money. In this video we'll try to compare Razer Chroma, by the way this is my cat, she will be a co-pilot this time. In this review we'll try to compare Razer's controller versus its close rival in terms of pricing, Elite Series 2, and we'll compare it with the original and standard Xbox controller. By the end of this video, we will try to decide if this thing is worth its money, or should you stick with Xbox Elite Series 2.
Quick ad time before we jump into reviews. Whatever unit you decide to buy, make sure to use the cashback services. These are free and provide you with a nearly instant rebate from most of the retailers. This is how I saved $2,000 in the past 2 years, and counting by using Rakuten. Available in US and Canada, and in many other places. If you never use the service, I have the referral link in the description. Please use it as it will give you a nice sign-up bonus. Practically free money. Make sure to check out that link.
Now let's open the box and see what's inside. Razer makes this controller in two colors, white and black. You'll see that the box of the controller is a lot better than what I got with that $4,000 laptop behind me. However, I'm not much into unboxing, therefore it doesn't really matter as long as the goods are packed well and safe. I care more about the contents. Anyhow, this is the controller. Also inside you get two thumbstick extensions. Then you get cord, manual, and then some stickers. I don't think I'll need this manual, and I don't think I'll need the box. There it goes. So once you grab Razer's controller, first immediate impression you get, it feels cheap. It's also lighter than original Xbox controller, and that's because there is no battery inside. So if you're looking for a controller with battery for a wireless play, then this controller is not for you. If you're still okay with the wire, stay around and let's see what this thing has to offer. Apart from feeling cheap, it's actually pretty comfortable. Bear in mind I have large hands, and this controller is slightly bigger than what Xbox shell has to offer. The primary difference between two in terms of the shape are the side grips. So on Razer they're thicker, and on Xbox they're kind of slimmer and pointed towards the end. Another interesting thing I discovered about this controller is that it arrives broken straight from the factory. So if you look at edge over here and the edge over here, you see there is a crack and the plastic is kind of pushed inwards. So I did a test and I ordered a second one. And guess what? On the second one, it's exactly the same issue. I'm not sure if this is kind of feature of Razer, trying to mimic Elite 2 Series Halo Edition scratches, but I tend to think it's more of a QI issue than a marketing gimmick. I also want to mention that the whole reason why I got this controller in my hands was the price. I managed to get this from Amazon for just $100. Usually these controllers go for $150. Would I buy it for a full price? Again, taking into account that Elite Series 2 is only $180. By the end of this video, I'll let you decide if this controller is worth its money, especially at a full price of $150. You come to my channel, you watch my videos, but I can't even remember the last time you clicked that like and the subscribe buttons. Even though I post the videos at least once a month for you. Don't you think this is the time to change it and finally click those two buttons? Are you done yet? Alright, then now we can continue. But remember, I'll be expecting the likes every time you watch the video. And for the rest of the video, we'll go step by step through Razer's website and see what features they highlighted and if those features worth the price of this controller. There are some cool ones and some not so. The first and probably the most important feature of Razer's controller are the mechanical buttons. And oh god, they're so satisfying to click. They installed mechanical buttons on the front-facing button set, D-pad, and I suspect that bumpers are also mechanical, even though Razer doesn't say this on the website. This is how front-facing buttons sound like. And this is what D-pad sounds like. So satisfying. These are the bumpers. Razer states that every mechanical button on this controller has a life cycle of approximately 3 million clicks, just like an average life cycle of a computer mouse. What's cool about these mechanical switches is that on top of a very satisfying click, they're very fast as well, but also gives you a tactile response back that the button was pressed. Razer states that they take 10 milliseconds to transmit your signal, and when compared with competition, it's on average 5 milliseconds faster. To be honest, if you are a casual player, you would probably not even notice it, since lag was really improved in the past years, and even Elite Series 2 with its old-fashioned rubber membrane buttons has no visible lag, at least for me, wirelessly. Next feature, I would call it a disadvantage against Elite Series 2 paddles. Razer comes with 6 programmable buttons, and during my gameplay I found that only 2 are really usable on this controller. Despite me having massive hands, it's still pretty hard to use the backside buttons. I wouldn't even call them paddles here. They feel like crap. I have no idea why Razer skipped installing mechanical switches, same as on the front side onto this controller, since in my understanding people who tend to buy these controllers barely ever use front-facing buttons, as they're looking for speed and comfort of using thumbsticks and back paddles. And if you're playing FPS games, I'm not sure about you, but when I do, I tend to squeeze my controller pretty hard. That gives me a feeling of better control and helps me maintain steady fire. With use of these back buttons, you end up holding your controller like this. So you practically hold it only with your pinkies, since your every other finger is busy doing something else. As a result, your brain tends to think you are about to drop the controller any second, constantly throughout the game. Not the best feature for FPS games. At the same time, M1 and M2 buttons are actually pretty comfortable and very handy. So M1, I ended up using it to switch weapons, and M2, I usually set it up for reload, and they work like a charm because you don't even need to press them from like kind of top to bottom. You can just quickly brush them and they're pressed. So these 2 buttons are definitely a big plus for this controller. Interchangeable thumbsticks. This is where I think Razer chipped out, since they provided only 2. The thumbsticks are pretty easy to change, but sometimes they get stuck. And you only get 1 mushroom-shaped convex thumbstick on a short leg and 1 concave on a tall leg. For my preference, I would like to see a bit more selection, just like with Elite Series 2 controller, where you have a wide range of choices for your thumbstick covers. I also find these thumbsticks not tight enough, and in case of Elite Series 2 you can adjust the tightness. With Wolverine V2 you cannot do that. That is definitely a massive disadvantage compared to Elite Series 2. But it's not that much of a big deal once you get used to them. They also seem to be not positioned straight enough, and when you look at the controller from the top, you see that each of them is leaning sideways. While Elite Series 2 controller looks perfectly straight, and so does the original controller as well. Speaking of which, this controller I had for 8 years. Triggers and trigger stoppers. Another feature I am on the fence about. Here's why. First of all, there is this massive hole right under your trigger. This hole will become your garbage collector in no time. If you compare it with Elite Series 2, there's barely any space there. Same as on the standard Xbox controller. Barely any space. Here you can put like half of your finger through it. Not great. Then trigger stop switches. They are made in such a cheap fashion here that when you activate it and press hard on the trigger, you always feel that you're about to break that stopper. And you can actually see the stopper through this hole right under the trigger. It's like a tiny plastic stick that comes out. On Elite Series 2, for example, your trigger stopper has 3 modes: off position, mid position, and high position. High being the shortest motion range. Ergonomics. On the website, Razer compares V2 version against the last year's model, and they state it became slimmer and more comfortable to hold. I haven't had the previous version, so I cannot say much about that. Yet, when comparing with Xbox original controller, you'll immediately feel that there is less space between the buttons and they're easier to reach. With Razer, on the other hand, since controller itself is slightly wider, you get more real estate to cross to reach certain buttons, especially the option buttons at the top here. And it takes some time to get used to pressing them, since they're shifted upwards. But in general, in terms of ergonomics and back buttons, there is no ergonomics whatsoever. These buttons are definitely out of place, and they should have been either turned 45 degrees downwards or made in a paddle shape. Otherwise, if there was an award for the worst back paddles, this controller would win it, no questions asked. So ergonomics for me are questionable on this controller. Next cool feature of this controller is of course RGB light. They even promote it in the name. Chroma. It comes with 4 modes you can select. First is breathing. You can set up with 2 colors. Spectrum cycling, my personal favorite. It slowly switches through every single color this controller has to offer. Static, or you can just turn it off completely. Though it's a cool feature to have, if you have larger hands, you always end up closing the entire RGB stripe and you barely ever see those lights. Only when it's lying down in front of your console or on your table, that's when you have time to appreciate it. Now let's talk about app and configurations and what this app has to offer. So first of all, to change any settings on this controller, you have to download Razer's app, either on your PC or Xbox. And within this app, you are able to set up profiles for every game you play. And speaking of profiles, Elite Series 2 has a cool feature where you can switch profiles right on the controller, and it stores up to 3 of them. In case of Razer, every time you want to switch profile, you have to go into the app and switch it over there. So if you play a few games at the same time, this might be a pain in the back. Otherwise, app is very easy to use and it's very straightforward. Even if you've never used anything like that, it would be very easy for you to understand. Apart from button assignment and RGB colors, within this app you can configure vibration motors of this controller. And vibration on it is pretty good. It's very intense, especially on the maximum settings. But what I find is that there is not enough vibration that reaches your triggers. For example, on Series 2, you feel your rumble all across the controller. That gives you a little bit of better immersion into the gaming world, while here all of the rumble tends to go towards your wrist because motors are located right here in the handles. Then last but very important feature of this controller, which I would like to see on Elite Series 2, it's called clutch, just like on your car, clutch. And what it does, it allows you to set up secondary sensitivity on each of your thumbsticks. And once you program one of the buttons to act as a clutch, if you press it during the gameplay, depending on your setting, it will make your thumbstick slower or faster. So here's a scenario for you. For example, I'm playing as a sniper and I would like to get a little bit more of that accuracy while aiming through the scope. Well, with this controller, it's easy to achieve. You press and hold the clutch button, and depending on your clutch setting, your aiming thumbstick becomes slower and more accurate. It's a cool feature in theory, but it takes some time to get used to it. I played several dozens of Fortnite games on this controller, and it's always hard to remember about the clutch. Nevertheless, I think it's a cool feature and it has to be integrated into other products like Elite Series 2. I also want to mention that Elite Series 2 app has a lot more configurations than Wolverine has. For example, you can adjust your thumbstick's responsiveness, you can adjust sensitivity of your triggers, and do all sorts of customizations for your perfect gameplay. That's all that Razer has on the website for us to look at, but I would like to discuss a few more points. First of all, the wire. It's a 10-foot wire, should be enough for you to stretch it across an average living room. If you need more than that, you can always buy extension cords on Amazon, pretty easy to find, as this is a standard USB-C plug that goes into the controller. However, if you have small kids, then this wire becomes a tripping hazard, and small devils will find a way to tip over your console off the shelf with this wire. Additionally, after each gameplay, especially in a living room setup, you always have to clean up after yourself. Otherwise, again, this is a tripping hazard. And there is no fault of Razer in this, by the way, because Razer is not able to make a battery-powered controller that competes directly with Elite Series 2. since Microsoft is not giving out licenses that easy for such controllers. That's why you will see often third-party Pro Series controllers are usually made wired for Xbox. On the other hand, if you're playing on desktop, then there should be no issue for you whatsoever. And this is why I think Elite Series 2 has the best of both worlds. First of all, you can play it wirelessly and you can play it wired, however you like. And we have only 2 buttons left on this controller. These are the share button, same as the one on standard Xbox Series X controller, and then this circle dot button, which is very handy, in my personal opinion, if you're using the 3.5mm headphone jack. It allows you to change your sound settings. You basically hold it and use your D-pad to increase or decrease the volume, or change your chat volume settings. Very useful indeed. Now I want to come back to my dirt collector comment earlier and show you what happens to this controller after using it for 30 days. Because of the plastic being on the cheaper side across the entire controller, the grip's texture tends to collect a lot of dirt. For example, this is a standard Xbox One controller. I had it for about 7 years and I haven't washed it once. You see how clean it is compared to 30 days old Razer? And I wash my hands like 20 times a day. Seriously, guys. But if you're using any type of creams for your hands, my hands tend to get dry once in a while. This controller knows how to collect it and keep it for you to look after. So if you end up getting one of these, especially a black one, make sure you wipe it once in a while, since it collects this much dirt. And this is what my Elite Series 2 looks like as well. I've been using it for the past half a year or so, and there is no sign of dirt whatsoever compared to Razer. So let's sum it up. But before we do so, please do consider clicking subscribe and thumbs up button. These 2 buttons helps the channel a lot. And if you like the review so much and you feel generous and want to buy me a coffee, you can do so by clicking super thanks button right under the video. There's no pressure whatsoever. Like and subscribe would do just fine. So the features I think are worth looking at. Mechanical buttons, yes. M1 and M2 programmable buttons, yes. Backside buttons, definitely no. And especially if you're looking for a controller to use back paddles in your gaming, I don't think there would be a person anywhere in the world that would take this controller and would be like, wow, this is what I was looking for. Because you end up holding this controller like this and it's like really weird, as I mentioned earlier. You barely hold it with your pinkies all the time. So you either have to learn to relax or find a new controller. Thumbsticks, I'm kind of on the fence about them. I'm not too sure. I don't know how long they will last. You get used to them pretty quick, but I still prefer adjustable tightness on my Elite Series 2. And since we compare it to Elite Series 2, I want to mention the price. So if you consider buying one of these at a full price, maybe add that extra 20-30 bucks and buy Elite Series 2. This is probably the best you can get for Xbox today. And if you want something exotic, maybe try SCUF. SCUF makes pretty good controllers with backside buttons. Yet, if you can get it for 100 bucks like I did on Amazon, well, maybe try it. You can always return it, it's Amazon. Who knows, maybe you will be like, oh my god, these back buttons were so great, like where was I all this time? And then the overall feel and quality to it, again, I'm on the fence about it. It doesn't give me that much of a confidence that it will last you for quite some time. I've seen some people saying their last generation of Wolverine lasted them for years. Well, I cannot say anything about how long it will last. So it's up to you to decide. Once you take it in your hands, you feel it. And if your hands are big enough to use it, maybe you'll like it. If you have small hands, stick to the original. Or again, Elite Series 2. In my opinion, paying 150 bucks for a Wolverine controller this year is a little bit of stretch, but again, it's for you to decide. Just bear in mind the quality issues like broken corners. If you get one of these, return it and get a new one. In general, I think Razer could do better, especially taking into account the great jobs they do on their laptops. Speaking of which, I have the latest video of Razer Blade 15 Advanced right here in the corner. In the comments, please let me know what you think about Razer Wolverine V2 Chroma. Would you buy one for 150 bucks? Or would you stretch it to 180 and get Elite Series 2 controller? Are there any other controllers you would consider as a replacement for Elite Series 2? And if you already own Wolverine V2 Chroma, did I miss anything in this video? On this note, I'll see you in my next video.